could please cut your cell phones off or put them on vibrate. And I will now pass the microphone over. Oh, I don't have to. Okay, I'm going to pass it. Greg will now be speaking.
Good evening, everybody. How are you? Great. My name is Greg Gardner. I'm a site leader over at Europe's Boston site just down the way at 93 Summer Street. So I wanted to first of all thank Fidelity for hosting us tonight, and then all of our esteemed guests from staffing agencies, both on the panel and those of you who came to network all of our students. It's great to see all the students tonight. There are a lot of you that I know from prior classes from my days working with Career and Alumni Services, and there are also some of you here that I had the privilege of working with as students on my floor, so it's really great to see all of you guys here tonight. Because our theme is networking, before I pass it over to the panel, I wanted to share with you guys just a quick story about my own experience networking. The last job that I got before I worked at Europe that came through networking in a way that was sort of surprising for me. So in 2003, 2004, I think I would be best described as underemployed. I had been working a series of completely random temp jobs doing different kinds of administrative and clerical stuff. So if there was a boring clerical admin job, I had done it. I had been a file clerk. I had been a receptionist for 3 days. I had shredded documents for people. I had put HR files in order for people, all these little one-week jobs. Because my plan A, which was to work in my field of choice, workforce development, wasn't happening. So plan B didn't seem to be working too well either, because plan B was work these odd jobs until something else came along, and I didn't have a plan C. So I found myself at a real estate mortgage company. This is, 2004 real estate boom, a lot of stuff going on, so they did have a lot of things to file, and I was basically a file clerk in my field of choice. One day, the woman who was the manager of this real a bachelor's degree and a master's degree, why you don't seem like you really want to be a file clerk here. And anybody who went to Europe knows what an elevator pitch is, right? Yes, we tortured you guys, made you practice your elevator pitches many times. So I had my elevator pitch ready and said, yes, actually, what I want to do is a job in workforce development, preferably working with ex-offenders. Kind of random. Looks at me and says, oh, that's funny. My sister runs a job development agency that works with ex-offenders up in Marin County. I'm from San Francisco. He said, would you like me to set up a meeting with her? Yes, I would like that very much. So a month later, I was working in what was my dream job. I was working in a job development program with ex-offenders. I did workshops in San Quentin, Marin County Jail, and San Francisco County Jail. That may sound like a weird dream job to some of you, but it was exactly what I wanted to do. So the point is, you're here tonight at a professional networking event where you've had the good fortune to meet with people who do this for a living. They connect people with jobs. There's another, and that's great. I encourage you to take advantage of every opportunity you have like that. But there are other ways in your life that you can network and find opportunities in the most unlikely. Chatted with that woman, I don't think I'd be here talking to you now. But I made sure I was there on time every day. I tried to distinguish myself with my work ethic, and I talked to people. If I didn't have that job for about 1.5 years in that workforce development program, I don't think I would have been hired at Europe, because it was a critical part of my qualifications when I first started at Europe working in career services. So I can't say with confidence, if it was not for that weird job as a file clerk at a real estate company in San Francisco, I wouldn't be standing here now. So just a little thing to think about, that never overlook where you might find an opportunity. With that, I'm going to hand it over to Cliff, who's going to moderate our panel tonight.
Thank you. Good evening, all. Thank you for coming here. Thank you to the staffing agencies who were able to make it out tonight, and thank you to our alums. So we'll jump right into this. All questions are actually directed towards the whole panel. If there's something that you think someone actually covered, which is exactly what you would have said, feel free to defer. But we would like to get everyone's insight just so we can get a good, well-rounded idea of how you guys think in terms of some of these questions. So the first one is, many of our alumni are constantly wondering what the difference is between online job searching and actually going in person. So what do you think is stronger or not?
I'll take it. My name's Carrie.
Are these on?
Should be.
Yeah, I don't think mine is. Oh, there we go. Can you hear? I think
Mine's on.
you can hear. Okay.
You're good.
So my name's Carrie Paris, and I work for Atlantic Associates, and we are an IT staffing firm. And prior to that, so I've been with Atlantic for about 3 years. And prior to that, I worked for Putnam Investments, and I was in human resources for about 5 years there. So that's just to give you a bit about my background. In terms of the online versus the in-person job seeking, I think both, are important. They're both a little bit different, but they both rely on the theme of networking. In person today, all of you coming here, you get an opportunity to meet with a lot of recruiters and account managers, and I think being able to place a face with the resume, it's huge for you, and it's huge for us when we're placing you in an organization. Our job is really to bring life to that resume, so it's great to submit your resume online and to use the online job boards or looking at companies that you're familiar with to see which positions they have that are interest to you. But then to find someone who's able to put life to that resume and say, you know what, I actually met with Johnny the other day and he's got a great personality. Not only technically is he strong, but work ethic, he's just, he was 20 minutes early for the interview, super professionally dressed. So taking those positions that you find online and then either going back to your recruiter and saying, hey, I saw this position at Putnam Investments I'm really interested in. Do you know anyone there? Do you think you can help me get in there? Or using your own personal network. It could be, someone you meet in the elevator, an aunt or an uncle, and saying, I know you used to work at Putnam. Any chance you know a person in HR or IT or wherever it is, and help to put that resume in front of that person. So I'd say both are important, and you can use them together.
Okay.
Couldn't agree more. And you got to take advantage of every tool and every resource that's out there. And the biggest difference I find between online and in person, whether you're going to a job fair, is you're putting your face, with the resume. Where sometimes if it's happening online, you're just another piece of paper, and it's oftentimes, especially at a younger stage in your career, to really differentiate yourself. So what employers look for sometimes at this stage is what's this person's communication skills like? What are their personality? How are they following up with me? And have they come prepared? Are they asking different questions? So you can do a lot of that type of stuff in person, which is hard to do online.
And I think that using the two together is actually, it's funny, it's actually how I found my job at Sapphire. I saw the Sapphire job online, but instead of applying online, I thought, who do I know that works at Sapphire, which is one of my friends out in California. So I had him, called up him, had him send the resume to Terry, and then I got the interview that way. So using the two together to kind of identify where the opportunity is, but then thinking, who can I get in front of in person, or who do I know, and kind of networking through that way could be pretty effective from a standpoint of actually targeting where the openings are to start with. A lot of times you meet a lot of great people, but they can't always hire you just because they don't have openings. So sometimes you're spinning your wheels. So I think the internet's great for identifying things, but I think above all, by far, using people or getting in front of people is definitely the way to get the job, or at least sell yourself. The internet leaves so much up for debate. There's so many objections that can be made just by a piece of paper or looking at a screen, I guess.
Well, I'll tell you a quick story. I don't mean to steal Terry's spot.
I'm not even going to talk.
But
Actually, I'm done.
my wife, she's a guidance counselor, and when she was looking for her job after she got her master's, she must have responded to about 20 or 30 different online postings, and I said to her, I'm like, all right, this is great. Go in person. Just start going around to these schools where you see the openings and bring a stack of resume and your reference letters. And she started doing that, and the first week she did that, she got a job. So it's just kind of a crazy story. Sometimes, the power of getting in front of someone is just going to take it a little bit further. Sorry, Terry.
That's quite all right. That's a good story. And they all highlight the point, not to take them away from Matt's resume. It was a wonderful resume, but it got to the top of the pile. I may not have ever got there. That's okay. I might as well leave. Right?
Hello?
Is this like candid camera? Interrupt me?
Unlike great answers, miss getting recorded.
Thank you. Sorry, something that I actually neglected to do at the beginning of this, which you're actually able to do yourself. Can the gentlemen just introduce yourselves and a little bit of your background?
Sure, I'll start.
There you go. Take it
In
away.
case anyone wants to interrupt me. No. Terry O'Leary. I work at Sapphire Technologies. I've been with the company for 13 or so years, and got it through networking. I was looking for an internship, so I'll save the rest of the story for later and let Sean go.
Brady, I've been with Sapphire for 9 years, a little over 9 years, and I actually got the job. I had my resume at that time. Monster was the new thing, and I had my resume all over Monster, but I just I was sending it to all these places, but I was following up with phone calls, and the woman that hired me said that was the reason why they brought me in for an interview. But started off at very much an entry-level position, and just worked hard and keep looking for new opportunities.
I'm Matt Conley. I manage the Boston office of Sapphire, and I too started at the bottom and moved into managing the office recently. And well, you heard how I found the job, so we'll save the repeat.
So I think we all agree that in person as well as on the
In
internet.
person's definitely, however you can get in front of somebody is the way to go.
And Sean brought up a good point. It's a challenge, especially in IT and in Boston and with the security changes. You can't just knock on the door like a school. So the phone is a great way. Finding out who you know in the company. LinkedIn. Do you all have LinkedIn accounts? And introducing yourself via that way. So it's going to be a differentiator, and you're going to have to get creative because we're in a city and it's not just the ability to walk in. That's a little more challenging.
Thank you. How critical is a cover letter when applying for a job and submitting a resume?
Matt, you're up.
All right, I'll start this one off. My personal opinion is if you're sending the resume online and it's a full-time position, it should have a cover letter. If you're having a representative, like a recruiter from a staffing agency, sending the resume, you shouldn't be sending a cover letter. They should be doing that for you as far as highlighting your attributes in person. And I met this person. So the cover letter is necessary if you're trying to represent yourself. Mm-hmm. If someone's representing you, I think that you don't need one. I don't think it's necessary. I think, in fact, it can actually hinder the whole process from a representation standpoint. That's kind of my point.
I agree with what Matt said. If and obviously look if it says cover letter required, that's a no-brainer. But make sure you're not sending a template cover letter that it's customized based upon the position. I mean, that's another important thing. Send the same cover letter for every job. Make sure it's relevant for the position. Just
real quick, while we're talking about changing things for positions, the summary at the top of your resume, change that for every position you're applying to, because if you're just sending that out in general terms, you're telling people a lot of times what you don't want to do. Yeah. So make sure you're changing that with the cover letter.
And I know you have something to add as well. To Greg's point, the cover letter is your chance to put your elevator pitch as to why you're a fit for the job in written format for them to view. And then, of course, you're going to still want to follow up.
I'll agree. I think that a couple points to add on is one thing we talked about earlier is that there is a lot of competition, so you want to set yourself apart. So one thing is that along the way, it's that extra effort. However you can make that extra effort, as opposed to just sending your resume online. Yeah, send a resume and a cover letter, and make sure you take some time to write that cover letter and make it specifically for that position. Look at the position description. If they say that their top priorities are A and B, you want to say, I've actually done A at such and such or B at such and such. And to Matt's point, that summary where you're putting things in there, if you say, I want to be, a network admin, but you're applying for a desktop support position and you say, my ultimate goal is to get a network admin, a manager can look at it and say, oh, they're not going to stay in this position. They want to be a network admin. So for some reason, I think that sort of speaks to they're thinking you don't want this one. So you want to make sure that it reads as though this is the job that you want, even if you're sending out 50 resumes and 50 cover letters, this is the one that you want. You took that extra time to write that cover letter. And in particular, it is when you're sort of doing your search on your own for a full-time permanent position versus through a staffing agency.
Cool. To follow up, are there any specific elements that the cover letter should have in it besides what you had just said?
And I think this is what you were saying. For me, a cover letter, the most important thing is that's your your pitch or your 30-second spot to really stand out and differentiate yourself. So, whatever that might be for your background, I mean, that's the time that you want to get that. That's the first thing that the person who's potentially hiring you is seeing. So, there's your chance to really highlight those things.
Yeah, I would agree. And, of course, thank you for taking the opportunity to review my resume. I understand you're looking for X, Y, and Z, and then go into what it is. And definitely have a great kind of community here. Don't be afraid to share your cover letters and have people read it. What do you think? Do you like it? You know what, I don't think this sounds great. So, send it off. You've got recruiters here. What do you think? I know writing's not my strength, so the more people that look at the things that I write, the better, and you tend to get a more well-rounded approach.
Yeah, I agree. I was going to say the same thing in terms of proofreading and having someone else, take a look at it as well, because you can read something 20 times and you're so sick of reading it. At that point, you're seeing what you want to see. So have someone else look at it, and they may see that one typo, or they may say, this sentence doesn't actually, make 100%, sense. Or, hey, in the 2, you actually wrote the other company you just replied. So little things like that can, when the person's reading it, can mean a lot to them. You just want to make sure that you're dotting those I's and crossing those T's.
I also think in the cover letter, if you can grab their attention somehow, not without ruining anything, but maybe like a recent news article, or I saw that you guys were recently awarded Boston's Best Place to Work, or something like that. Something that shows that you're doing a little bit of research, but not overkill. Like, I'm talking 2 sentences like, oh, congratulations on the new project with wherever it is. So I'm not going to make up news clips for you, but you get the point. You go Google it, get on like Boston.com or something, see if there's some news about the company, and then kind of try to grab somebody with that, like, wow, they're actually looking into like what's going on here. It's always a good trick.
Yes.
And you can go to their website, and they're usually pretty happy about telling you what they've achieved lately. So, news about us, congratulations on being the number 3, whatever. But they'll tell you, believe me. You can look at our website, right? We're pretty proud of what we do, too. So,
Yes. Well, speaking to proofreading and actually doing your research in terms of the company, are there any other simple tips that you could give our alums that in their job searching can help them stand out from the crowd?
wow, I think this falls on you, Sean.
Oh, I thought I just won. I mean, jobs in terms of, can you repeat the question?
Oh.
Lots of pressure.
What are some simple tips that you would give to our alumni in their job searching that can help them stand out from the crowd?
I think in terms of job searching, I think a lot of times people get very narrowly focused, and for example, I'm just looking at all different, if I'm a help desk person, I'm just looking at, help desk positions within a specific vertical. The broader you can make your search, the better off you're going to be. Putting different keywords in, and maybe it's not your ultimate position, but it's a way to get yourself in the door, looking at things from a little different perspective sometimes. So that would be, I think, my biggest tip is just don't get too, especially in a market like today, don't get too narrowly focused.
I'd be willing to take anything to get in the company, to work, and show them you show up on time, show them just that you're a reliable person, and then you can usually after 6 months of the year transition into the role that is maybe more along the lines what you want. I would take anything in this market to get in the door, and especially if it's at a company you really want to work at. That's a whole nother story. I mean, start anywhere and then work your way, network your way through meeting the right people and telling them, this is what I really went to school for, and kind of working your way up from there.
I think, too, the 2 pieces of advice I would give are similar in that, if it's something you're really interested in, don't listen to everyone else if they're saying, oh no, you have to hold off for a position that pays X amount of dollars, or, you went to school to be a desktop, you don't want to do help desk, whatever it is. But you know what? You look at the big picture, like you were just saying, and go with your gut. If this is something you really want to do, then go for it. I hear so many times where people say, well, so-and-so told me I shouldn't take it because if I take this, then a year from now I might not get whatever it is. That's a year from now. We don't know what's going to happen. If it is something that is interesting to you, then you go for it. And the other piece I would say is let your personality show. Be professional. I think these things, work ethic and being professional in an interview is huge. It can truly set you apart. Technical skills and those on-the-job things, you can learn a little bit, but that work ethic, that can set you apart. But when you're in an interview, be yourself too. People want to hire people that they like to be around, that they want to work with every day. So don't be afraid to to smile and to make sure to make eye contact. And they sort of seem like basics. I was talking to someone about it earlier. They seem like basics, but sometimes it's not. Sometimes it can really set you apart.
And on that point, those are all very valid. You always have to ask for the job, right? Let them know you want it. I know I hire people that want my job, not folks that kind of make me guess. I don't know, is he interested? Is she interested? The other thing, it's kind of an exercise, but I do know that it helps. Think of every person that you know and write down where they work. Then from there, you're building your first step in your network process. So really, if you're thinking, how am I going to find a job today? Every person you know, neighbors, everything, and it's your mission, find out where they work, find out what they do. Now you reverse search those companies and see what kind of opportunities there are. And they may not even be on the internet, but hey, listen, did you know I'm looking for work? That's the other thing. Tell everybody you know you are looking. Mm-hmm. Okay, don't be shy about it. I'm looking. In fact, here's my resume. So kind of reverse engineer your search. A lot of the jobs aren't going to make it out to the internet right now, so you kind of want to have your own little private army out there looking for you. And I think you'll find a lot more success.
Very pointed tips. What are some common mistakes that you see people making when applying for jobs?
I'll take this one. The biggest mistake anyone makes is making objections in the interview. Like, I want you to work Saturday and Sunday. And then telling them in the interview that, like, no, I don't want to do that. It's just, like, the biggest mistake in my book. Any little thing that, like, you don't like, just say, yeah, I'll do that. And then at that point, once you get to a second interview or once you're, like, along the process a little bit more, then you can start negotiating. But, like, in the first interview, if you're making objections, that's, like, the biggest reason I don't want to bring someone ever back in to talk to me, just because I'll test them a little bit just to see if they really want it, because that's the worst thing. Someone that doesn't want to, like, contribute or do something, or even the smallest thing, like they're like, oh, you're going to have to go get lunch for everybody on the Unix team every Friday. And they're like, no, I don't go get lunch or something like that. Or you have to be here every morning at 6:30, 3 days a week for the first 6 months. And you're like, oh, I got, my train doesn't leave until 5:45, so I might be 15 minutes late. Like, things like that, that'll just kill you right away. So I would always be thinking positive and not making objections in the interview. Wait till the second round to start negotiating points. Wait till they like you before you start trying. Seriously, wait. You think about it. You think about when you talk to people. A lot of times people tell you, be upfront, tell people what you don't want to do. I would say you let them like you, grow on them a little bit, then tell them, hey, listen, I know I was thinking about it. I might have to move that to 7 o'clock in the morning instead of 6:30. But now they're kind of already into you, and they've ruled out all these other candidates, so then you have a little bit of leverage. In the first round of an interview, you really don't have any leverage. You're just one of 20 people that are coming in. So I'd always be thinking, don't make objections. You can always find a way to work something out if you really want to. I bet if someone told you, I got Pat's tickets, we're leaving at 7, you'd find a way to get there. That's how I always think about things. Always think positively until you absolutely know that it's something you can't do.
You fooled us that way, right?
I know.
now we
Trust me.
He was here all the time.
Yeah, but keep in mind, a lot of times when people are interviewing you, they're just testing you as well, right, to see how you respond to certain questions. So, always keep that in the back of your mind as well. So really keep an open mind and see if you can turn every situation where you're like thinking in your head, that's crazy, I would never do that. See how you can potentially change that into an opportunity or something you would love to do, or just, kind of take that point of view on it.
Along those lines, I would say the same, because if you do start making those objections, and I can't do that to the interviewer, the interview sort of stopped at that point. So, and it's hard to make those decisions, right like that for yourself. You're in an interview. It's a fairly, stressful situation. You're selling yourself. It's not something you're always doing. So, you want that opportunity to step back after the interview, be invited for the next interview or get the offer, and then to really sort of debrief, whether it's with your recruiter or with someone at home, and say, the more you verbalize it, yeah, you know what, working one Saturday a month, it's actually not a big deal. What do I do anyways? And so you can start to sort of talk to yourself about it, and it all doesn't seem so bad. So I would agree with that. The goal of every interview is to get the next interview or to get the job offer. So sell yourself.
And that basic stuff like wear a suit or dress formal.
Yeah.
Don't underestimate it. If someone tells you to come casual, don't be fooled. They're just seeing if you're going to wear a suit. And then like stuff like don't chew gum. I mean, real basic stuff. But trust me, you should see some of the things I see. It's pretty funny. You'd be surprised about the things that like people wearing like Timberlands or like dirty construction boots to an interview at like a financial company, and I get a call, or leaving their BlackBerry on, like their what are those things called? Bluetooth. Sorry, I don't have one. The Bluetooth on during the interview, or answering cell phones during the interview. Like,
Oh, do you mind holding?
these things are just, they seem crazy, but like those are simple things like turn your cell phone off, show up early, never underestimate anybody. Those are things that like I would,
Do your preparation.
like real stuff, know about the company and what's going on, and like, just real basic things. Always never underestimate anybody.
You've all seen my kind of game now. I let them all speak and take a few ideas. To cover what they maybe haven't, directions, right? You've got to be on time. Nothing upsets me more than when someone's not late. I might make you wait 10 minutes because I'm on the phone, but please don't show up late to my interview. So know the directions. It's not corny. Go the day before and know where you're going. There's nothing worse than showing up late to an appointment, and especially if you're running and you're just out of sorts. You're not going to have a great interview. The second thing, think about what you're going to do. Game plan for your job interview. I'm not saying over-prepare and get nervous, but what do you think I'm going to talk about? Well, this is what the job is. I'm going to write out some points, what I want to say, and tuck them into your portfolio. And the last thing, even if you don't have notes to take, draw a picture of the person who's interviewing you, but it shows interest.
That's a good one.
Okay?
Yeah.
So
Always take
a notebook, and if you're not intrigued, draw a picture.
Have your questions ready.
Yeah.
That's another big one. I hate, you finish an interview and you give them an opportunity to ask any questions. They're like, no, I think you answered everything. What are you talking about?
And ask everyone.
Yeah.
Even if you're meeting with 5 people, that 5th person wants to feel just as special as the first person. So even if you're getting a different perspective, on the same question, that's okay. So ask everyone a question, because it is sort of a bad feeling. You get through that end of that 30 minutes. So what can I answer for you? No, nothing. It's like, nothing really excited me about what you said, so I don't really have any questions. So that's, it's part of it is sort of it's sort of flattery. It goes back to saying that was great that you got best whatever in Boston. It's probably something they're really proud of. So flattery can go a long way. I agree, not over the top, but make that person feel like that 30 minutes that they just spent with you was worth it. And make your questions, about the position. I think that's another basic, but people forget. Don't focus on, what job can I do in a year from now? Or, where's this going to get me? Because this person's hiring you because they need you to help them today. You'll get somewhere. If you do well, you'll go somewhere within a company. But make the questions pertain to what they're trying to hire you for.
I'll give you a couple more across off your list. How much vacation and what holidays do I get? Yeah. Don't ever ask those in an interview.
You're already talking about taking time off and you don't have a job.
What are the hours? What time can I go home?
Yeah, right.
When do we get paid?
That's a good one, actually.
In seeing the recession today and how it's impacted the financial industry, how much of our economy, in your opinion, has affected entry-level finance positions within the greater Boston area?
I'll actually jump out and take one in advance. I know a lot of companies obviously have been downsizing and laying off, but I know State Street in particular, in one of their business units, is looking to bring in entry-level folks on the corporate action side versus the senior level. So although in some instances it takes away opportunity, other companies are saying, look, we can train folks and it's going to be a heck of a lot cheaper. So there are some opportunities, and you're going into it and you're going to be trained and you're going to work really hard, but you also have to kind of look out for yourself as well. Say, hey, I know they're using me for my salary, but I'm going to use them for their experience. So there are some opportunities. There certainly have been some reductions on the entry-level side. There's been reductions across the board, but there are opportunities. You're just going to have to really be aggressive.
I'm afraid, it's also a good time to maybe build your resume up a little bit and take some shorter-term assignments. I know it's not ideal that everyone wants a full-time job, but if there's a 3-month or a 6-month project out there, working with some staffing agencies, that's a great way to get valuable experience, and you'll be surprised a lot of times people get hired on full-time in those positions, or they lead to other opportunities.
From we work in particular. With technology, we don't do a whole lot in the way of financial services, but I've done some reading, and from what I can see is for Generation Y, they say that they're not impacted as much because of what we were talking about earlier. The economy is going to turn. Companies are going to end up doing better, and they want to have this workforce that they've trained at an entry level or maybe a mid-level type of a position, so that when this does turn, they've got this trained workforce there that knows their systems, knows what their processes are. And the other piece I would say is, don't be consumed by the media and everything. Get out there and look for a job. Tell everyone that you're looking for a job, because if the person next to you is saying, I'm going to wait till the economy turns because it's really not worth it to get out there, but you're out there in front of everyone, you're that much of a leg up on your competition. So don't get consumed. Again, put in that extra effort. There are more candidates out there, but don't take a back seat.
For our alumni who have never worked with a staffing agency before, what advice would you give them in seeking work through a staffing agency?
I would say be honest, develop a relationship with that person so that you feel comfortable communicating with that person, and be honest with them. They're bringing life to you. They represent you. We are putting ourselves on the line. So do those things, those common courtesy type things. If we call you, call us back, even if it's to say, I can't look right now. Don't be afraid that if you say no to a job that you're never going to get called again. Just that, enlighten us. Not this job, and this is why. The timing's not right, and this is why. Okay, we get that. We all have lives. We know things happen. But if you avoid the phone calls or don't return the phone calls, that's when it becomes difficult. And those things we talked about before, where those objections that come up in an interview, get out of the interview and tell your recruiter. They can help to work those things out for you. They can tell you sort of the inside. But be really honest with your recruiter about what your concerns are, what you do want, what you don't want. And because that's the only way. We truly are, and I think it's hard to realize, but we truly are putting ourselves on the line for other people, which can be really hard. And so we have to have that two-way trust. And you do too. So you have to make sure that you trust us. We're someone that you want to work with. Ask us questions. Before an interview, our job is to prepare you for the interview, to tell you about the company. So ask us questions too. It's a two-way communication.
Just on that, go out of your way to meet the recruiter that you're working with. Entry-level jobs come into our office, and it's 5 minutes. Who have you met? Everybody else that you haven't met.
Right.
In the trash. We'll take these, and usually those people that get hired, like really quickly. When those come in, if you don't have a relationship with somebody, the thing you got to understand about the staffing agency is they're also putting their reputation online for you. So when you go into a client, it's really hard for us to send somebody in that we've never met before, because who knows who you are. I mean, that's really the big question. So with the entry-level stuff, or even any job, to be honest with you, meet the recruiter you're working with and make sure you guys understand each other and you know how we work and we know how you work. And that would be probably the biggest piece to working with an agency in the beginning of a career. That by far, I mean, nobody that we haven't met on an entry-level basis there's not a chance they're going over.
And to follow up on what Matt said, have the right expectation, when going into it. Don't go into it thinking, all these agencies are going to find me a job. Look at it, hey, you know what?
Yeah.
I'm going to go meet this recruiter because in meeting the recruiter, I'm going to get better at interviewing. You know, and they're going to coach me up on interviewing, and it's more, you know, it's an opportunity for me to sell myself to a recruiter and meet with a bunch of different recruiters, and it's going to get, you know, help your skills. You know, but and looking at it as, you know, networking as well. The more people that you know are in the industry, you'd be surprised how small of an industry it is. You know, the better off for you. So just, you know, go into things, again, thinking like, hey, this is an opportunity for me to meet someone I don't know, to possibly network, and for me to better myself from an interviewing standpoint. So when I do get an interview with a client, I'm ready. You know, I know what to do.
Those are all great points, and just to add to it, think of the meeting as a chance to kind of interview them. Although we're all in the same industry, we're not all the same people. So think of it as a little bit of an interview for them. Is this person representing me well?
So you might not like the recruiter you meet.
The other thing is, this is certainly an economy, and you might want to cover your ear, Sean. Talk to a couple of us. Get a couple of companies working for you. Especially at your level, although you might love Sapphire and Atlantic Associates and Kelly. Reach out to as many as you need to. Maybe 10's too many, but figure out until you get a good core of people you're comfortable with. And you can drop them an email, hey, just letting you know I'm still looking. They're not going to be able to take every call you get. I think our people do over 500 calls in a week. So if they're putting 500 outbound calls, you've got to imagine their time's at a premium too. So just let them know. Keep them informed. Still looking. I know there's nothing right now, but keep me in mind.
Connect with them on LinkedIn.
LinkedIn.
Some of them on Facebook. You know, keep in touch.
Yep.
Nice. And to each of the panelists, could you please suggest 3 top do's and don'ts that you'd recommend in either the interviewing or the job search process?
3 each.
Whichever you're comfortable with.
I'm going to go first on this so we don't run out.
Oh, there you go, Terry.
That's a good idea.
I already said the first one. Always ask for the job, right? Always be on time. And do some research up front so you can ask a question. I'm taking the easy ones. The don'ts, Matt talked about it before. Let's not talk about what we don't do. What is it that you need me to do? I'm your person. You know what? I was just thinking that's what I want to do with my life. I want to do weekend support, so I have the weeks free. Where am I at, 2? Don't be late.
I'll do the 3rd.
Okay.
Don't be late. Yeah, and just to piggyback on with practice, you know, make sure before the interview, a lot of us don't have a lot of experience in interviewing. You know, grab a sibling or a parent or a cousin, whoever, a friend, you know, practice with them. It might sound silly, you know, look in front of the mirror. Make sure you go in there with an agenda, like no matter which way this interview process goes, I'm going to make sure the person interviewing me knows this about me. Solid examples of where you overachieved. You know, that's what employers are looking for. Demonstrated track record of where you stood out from everybody else. And is that 3?
That's right.
That's good. All right. I'm lost right now, but let's go. Let's go with a couple things. Let's see. Don't overpromise anything, but if you don't have something, so let's say that you were on the help desk, but you weren't doing desktop support. So don't say, oh yeah, I've done all this desktop support because you haven't. But do relate something you don't have to something you do. So trying to never just say, no, I don't have that. So say, no, but while I was on the help desk, you know, I was helping a lot of people that were on the desktop support team, and you know, kind of trying to relate it to things that you do have. Always take something you don't have and turn it into something else that you have, versus just saying, no, I don't have that, no, I don't have that. If you don't have stuff, just tell them everything you do. I guess that would be my biggest tip. But to do that properly, you're going to have to practice kind of interviewing and getting them out. So like if you're going in for a job and you see things on there you don't have, start thinking about what's close. So that when you say, I don't have that, well, I do have, so like if I don't have Active Directory, I have Exchange, or I have something really close. And I can pick it up. Always say, I'm a fast learner, I'll pick that up. I always like to have people end with that. I'm a quick learner. I'll pick it up. Don't worry. When I wasn't here, I didn't know this, and now I'm an expert. So like changing it around versus just saying no is always a big thing. What else? That seems like a lot all combined, right?
I think that's cheating. I don't know.
I think that was one.
I'll think about some, and you can go with. If you have 6, I'll be very impressed.
I would say, definitely treat this job search almost like a full-time job. Really, dedicate yourself to making sure that, even like a Facebook, if you're going to reach out to people on Facebook, that your Facebook page, you can still have your personality, but it looks like you want a prospective employer, to see it. Come up with a professional email address. You know what I mean? Instead of, I don't know, hotmama102, like, carrie.paris@hotmail, and my hot mama can go to other people,
Wow, I saw a couple, what's going on over here?
You ring, your ringtone. Sometimes people have those ringtones that say, like, songs are, one thing too, but there's, I don't know, fresh jokes. I sound like I'm about 85, but there's different monologues on your ringtone that you want to make sure not to sort of polarize or really separate that person who's interviewing you or who's going to call you from you. So that's your first impression. And you want and I know you have your individuality, and that's really important to people. But if this is your full-time job right now, is finding your next job, treat it like that. Prepare for your interview. Do some research on that company. Look them up on LinkedIn. Where have they been before? Maybe you know someone who used to work at the company that they were at before, or you notice that they're a part of some sort of a society or a club that you have an interest in. That's a connection. Make sure to show sort of your passion, whether it's if you're on the financial track or you're on the IT track. Some of those questions are going to be a lot of behavioral, especially at entry level. So why do you want this job? I have to tell you, ever since I was young, I loved Excel. Numbers just sort of clicked for me. I remember when I would be doing a list, everything would be in Excel. It just sort of always made sense to me. Or, when I got my first computer and I didn't want to use it, I wanted to take it apart and put it back together. I got video games and I just wanted to understand why they worked. Like, even those things that may not seem super professional, people like that because it shows a passion. It shows your interest. And that's an easy way for sort of like we were talking about earlier, for you to come up with those sort of transferable skills that you can tell a story about. It doesn't have to be that you actually worked on a help desk and you were responding to level 3, or you saved the company X amount of dollars because your spreadsheet showed some error, but that you get it. You know what the background behind the business is. So and those are the kind of stories to sort of think about why you are interested in it and have that come out. And I know it can be really uncomfortable, but you have to sell yourself. You know what I mean? It's it's one of those opportunities where don't use one-word answers. Come up with a story, sell yourself. Why do they want to hire you? This is your 30 minutes to make that connection and make them realize why they have to call you right after, call the agency right after and say, yeah, we want him or her to come back. So.
Another don't you made me think of when you were saying ringtones is your voicemail. A lot of times that's the first time someone's hearing. I used to call people all the time when I was recruiting on a daily basis, and their voicemail was crazy. I wouldn't even leave them a message. I'm like, you kidding me? I'm not going to work with this. Leaving a crazy voicemail like this. So
I got to do. Always write a thank you letter.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
By far. I can't stand when people don't write thank you letters.
And a handwritten one as well as.
No, I think everybody should do that, just for taking the time out of their day and interviewing you. And I especially like the ones that actually associate something to what we talked about. Not thanks for the time today. Great. I'm glad I gave you some time, but thanks. I'm really excited about the sales role. I think that my last punch, like my experience here, can really help your company. Relate your thank you to actually what you talked about, and give them that last one too. I think that I could really excel by doing this. Look forward to hearing from you this week or something like that.
Which is going to be easy to do because you took good notes.
Right, yep.
Because you took notes. There you go.
Do it with a sense of urgency. Don't wait a week.
Giant cycle of getting a job.
The next day.
Nice. So what we'd like to do right now is open up questions to our alumni and also to others from the various staffing agencies. If there's anything that you think you didn't hear that would definitely be a good piece of advice for our alumni, or a question that you actually have for the panel, please feel free to raise your hand.
Floracy.
I do. Hi, my name is Florcy, and my question goes to you, Matt.
Okay.
You mentioned at the top of your resume you should have a summary. Is that like necessary?
I don't think so. I mean, I usually take them off, but anyway, regardless of that, I think it can be very appealing if it's actually written properly. The problem with the summary is, what if they see your resume and think of you for another opening, and then you're making another objection? So it's kind of like, what if you were applying for X, but they said, ooh, this person would be really good for this, but oh, they really want this part. I mean, it's really kind of a catch-22. It can be really powerful. It could also prevent you from getting something that you weren't even applying for.
Yeah, I would say if you're posting a resume somewhere, no summary. Right? Because you want as many different people thinking, oh, she could possibly do this job. If you're responding to a job, then a summary might be helpful.
Thank you. Hello. All right. So this is a question to all of you in general. I know you said about Facebook and LinkedIn. I think LinkedIn is more professional. On the Facebook side, like, do employers or like staffing agencies like look into that? Like, what are?
Oh yeah.
I will tell you this. Some companies actually have a person whose job is to investigate your online footprint. Okay. We also, when we interview someone, I don't have a Facebook account. I'm resisting the urge. But people in the office will quickly pull up the page and say, oh, you want to see their page?
Yep.
So
MySpace, Facebook.
The first thing
If
they're
you're
doing is Googling your name.
have a personality,
Everything.
just block it, right?
Yeah.
I think there's a way you can block your profile. You can try to find me
Anything
online.
you have out there,
right?
anything you have out there, and if you're looking for a job, or even if you're not looking for a job, even when you're in the job, I would be careful who you let in there.
Yeah.
Right, Zach?
And along the lines of with networking, I know I had a situation where someone from high school, I have a Facebook, and someone from high school reached out to me, so it's fine, we're connected on there. She all of a sudden realized that I was a recruiter. Well, the things, and it wasn't even like looking at her pictures, but I mean, the things she wrote in her status updates and all that were so outrageous. And then she reached out to me and said, hey, I didn't realize you were a recruiter. I'm looking for a job. And I found myself, just from seeing all this, and we didn't connect in that reason because we were in an employer situation. It's just that network, that cycle. I couldn't really represent her because of the things that she put on there. Because again, it's me. When you're working a network, whether it's from staffing as a profession or just referring someone to someone you're putting yourself on the line there. So I suggested to her, I said, you should really look at your MySpace and LinkedIn and Facebook and everything and make sure it looks the way you want a prospective recruiter or hiring manager to see it. So
in short, shut it down.
Yeah, and it's okay. I mean, it's like, again, you have to make that decision. How important is that Facebook, the stuff you post on Facebook versus getting a job? It's everyone's individual decision. No one can tell you to do it, but decisions are made, sometimes are influenced by it.
I've seen kids come in a suit to interview to work at Sapphire, and then we've Facebooked them or MySpaced them, and I've been like, whoa.
They're done.
No, thank you. Because, it's there to look at, so I'm not going to not do that. Entertaining, though.
Question down.
Yeah, that goes, sorry. My name is Johnny. I guess this question probably goes to Carrie. I've also heard that during the interview, when you show up, chewing gum, don't bathe too much in cologne. What some dudes don't, like during like the interview process, like the eye contact, don't be too strong. From time to time, look away. Mm-hmm. And what else? And your body language too, I guess. So I'm thinking, what's too much? What is too much?
I think one thing too is that you can talk to, with your resume, with interview skills, you can talk to 5 different people and get 5 different, perspectives. Look at the 4 of us up here. But so you also don't want to over prepare, because I really think your personality is important. So if you sort of have all these things running through your head, sometimes you can get totally caught up in that. But I think that normal amount of eye contact, I don't think you should worry too much about looking away too much, or body language, nice handshake, sit up. And one thing though, it does go back to even when you're in that lobby waiting for the interview, you pick up that cell phone and the receptionist or someone walking by hears that conversation, that could carry back to the person you're interviewing with. So I think just to be really mindful that you're being professional as you know it, while also showing your personality the whole way through. Be friendly, be polite. But I wouldn't worry about over preparing too much on that. I mean, from your perspective, from talking to you out there, I think you're great. You know what I mean? So I wouldn't over worry about that too much.
That's a good tip. Before I used to even interview people, I used to ask the receptionist, how was so-and-so? Were they professional?
Always
to
be
you?
nice to them.
Polite?
Yep.
So,
Were they nice?
the minute you walk in through that door, you're interviewing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you for everyone. Everyone's insight has been very helpful. My name is Carlos Torres. I believe I met everyone in the panel. My question is resume. Going back to the resume topic, what are the first things recruiters look for in a resume? Like, what's the first thing that stands out?
I'd say that everything that's in your skill set's in your resume. If you're claiming that you can do something in your skills for technology, you have a bullet that shows that you actually did something with that. Back it up with some details versus, people tend to block a ton of things that they kind of did or their team did into the skill sets and then have like maybe one or two bullets. If anything's in that skill set up there, you should have bullets represent every single thing. And then as with the resume, obviously if it's the job description, so let's say like you're a Windows person, but you're trying to apply for like a Unix job. Let's just go out on a crazy one. But, and maybe you have both, a little bit of both. Make sure you're front loading the resume with the most important things that they want. Not like don't ever give anyone the same resume. Like that's the hardest part about getting the job is getting to what someone actually does. So if someone's looking for you to do 24-hour support, and that's the most important thing in their job description, that's the most important thing in the resume for that job. If somebody's looking for you to be a desktop analyst, then your most important thing is desktop analyst. Front load the resume with whatever you can. You're not changing your responsibilities, you're just presenting them differently. So I would always say if you're applying for a certain job and everything that relates to that's at the bottom of the resume, they're probably going to get tired of looking for things that they're not seeing, and then I would always move everything to the top.
Yeah, when we look at a resume, we're looking to match it to something. So if you're applying for a specific position and you think you're a fit for it, make sure it, like you're saying, that it matches. So I can't say that there's one particular thing that we look for, but as I get that resume, depending upon what area or particular skill set, I'm looking to see, okay, how does it match to that skill set? And then the other thing I would see is to try to help to create a story. Okay, so all right, so they were there from X date to X date, and before that they were here, and before that they were at Europe, and then they took that time off and they got certified. So, and that'll come from a conversation, but you want to make sure your dates are right on it. So this doesn't make sense. They were working at two places full time for the same dates, or so just sort of what the person's story is, and I'd say that.
It might sound basic too, but proofread it.
Yeah.
That's one of the biggest turnoffs sometimes. Is you get a resume and there's all these spelling errors or grammatical errors and things of that nature. And then, another thing that I always like, which might not be, geared as much in the IT world, but, accomplishments. Whatever you've accomplished, make sure that's on your resume and that's standing out.
Yeah. And then just with IT, with spell check, don't let spell check change your IT terms. There's nothing more embarrassing than having words separated, or some of those programs and certain tools, they're spelt ways for a reason. They're not wrong. Just make sure everything is spelt the way it's supposed to be, and spell check just hasn't changed it by accident, because then you're like, oh boy, they don't even know how to use this tool. They can't even spell it properly.
Got one more question.
Oh.
Sorry.
Nope, that actually is.
Hello? Okay. I just got a question. I noticed too, like, I have a resume on a hot job that I posted, and I went back and made corrections to it. And like from like the employer views went up, And I noticed like the way like you word things. At one point, I had wrote down data entry. And then I went back and said, you know what? Could I put data entry tech or data entry technician, or like maybe sometime the way you word it too, like you get more response back too?
I'll tell you the real reason that it went up is because every time you refresh your resume, it moves to the top of the queue. So if you're up on Monster or something and your resume's been there for, let's even say, 4 days, you are now like number 300. Refresh it every day to be the person on the day, because if it's been up there for like a week or something, no one's ever getting to it. So that's why it kept going up. When you made a change, it refreshed the resume, and then people saw it at the top, so they opened it first. Versus before, it was down at the bottom. So that's a great tip, actually. Yeah. If you're on job boards and actually really relying on them, you have to update the resume, even if it's just refreshing it or putting a period and deleting it and saving it again, like just doing something really small to get to the top of the queue.
Do you guys normally respond to folks that leave their home telephone number on their resume, or just is mostly looking for? You would prefer like a mobile number? Which one is it?
I don't think there's really a preference. If I was looking for a job, I'd put my mobile and my home because I wouldn't want to miss their call and my email. But I don't think people are going to say, geez, he left his mobile off. If you have reasons why you're trying to keep that private, then sure.
As long as you're checking the messages.
You want to be as accessible as possible, because, I mean, jobs open up sometimes in our world and they close, within hours sometimes. So, the best way someone can get in touch with you, I mean, that's what you want there.
As far as formatting a resume, do you have any easy tips or tricks to help people?
Are you looking for a job, Lisa?
No. Do you prefer bullets, paragraphs, sentences, certain fonts? Does anything jump out to you more than others?
You're getting subjective. Like, it's hard to say like why you don't put an objective down, because we don't know what the reader's going to look for. So what I will say is consistency. So nothing more frustrating than, well, in 04, he was into bullets, and now in 07, he's into paragraph style. In 09, he found out about, I don't know, asterisks, so now he's into asterisks. So it's like, whoa, what's going on? The other thing is, if you worked at a job for a year, have more than one thing to say about it, or that one line item. I mean, think about it. Spend some time. Write down what it was. If you don't know, email your boss. Hey, would you mind sending me my job description? I'm trying to write a resume.
Going through the skills will get you more bullets, too. I go bullets all the way anyways.
And then the last thing is use the staffing agencies. This is their profession. Don't be shy. Hey, you know what? I'm not great at this. Help me out. Take their copy. Okay, send me an email, electronic copy back. Now you've got their copy. All right, make them work for you.
Well, the mic there. In my own experience hiring people, totally agree about the email. You can be, crazy girl Boston with your friends, but don't be crazy girl Boston for your job. And I've been a victim of that. I came out of college and had a Hotmail that meant absolutely nothing. First name, last name, something like that. Also, and it's maybe because I'm quite unhip, but don't email people with text speak. I get a lot of emails, from your friends are one thing, but people that you don't know or might be approaching you in a professional way. It's not you are for your. It's spell it out, serious.
No OMG.
What?
No OMG.
I OMG all the time with my friends or people
face.
I know. But if you're, just in a professional light, don't text speak. And also, finally, something that we were discussing in the office recently, if you're Facebooking, you have friends who know friends who know friends, don't blast on there, I hate my job at 2 p.m. when you should be working, and I can't wait to get out of here. You can let them know that, let your friends know you're looking for a job, but if you're currently working, you don't want your employer to see that you hate where you are, because they might help you out.
Fix that quick.
That's a good point.
We have seen a few of those in my company.
Yeah. Thank you. And I'll notice it even at the end of the day, because, it's like, 8 o'clock and that's interesting. They wrote that at whatever time it was. Or the other thing is, I think you bring up a good point, is no matter how comfortable you get with your employer, tech speak, not in professional situations. With even your recruiter, again, this is how you're being represented. And if you're in a contract and you're hoping to get hired permanently, professional all the way. It's okay to be comfortable. You wanna create that relationship, but professional, the whole way.
Thank you. So we want to thank the panel guests, and I also want to hand it over to Saskia James, who's going to close out for us.
Good evening, everyone. I just want to thank everybody that came out tonight, the panelists and everyone from the staffing agencies. I really appreciate being able to work with you guys and communicating and talking to you guys. And I'm very thankful you guys were able to come out and speak to our alumni and give advice, very valuable, invaluable advice, actually, about job searching and how to go about it. For my alums that were able to make it tonight, I just want to let you know there was a huge amount that wanted to come here tonight, and you guys are the ones that actually have the courage to come here and network in a space that is unfamiliar to you and meet people that are unfamiliar to you. So I think that's a huge amount of courage that you guys have, and I ask that you take that sort of feedback, and tomorrow as you go job searching or you go into your job, wherever you go tomorrow when you wake up the next day, just carry what you did with today. You took initiative to further your network, to further your connections. Some of you guys are older, you're more seasoned. This was a breeze for you. Some of you guys are new alums, and this is brand new for you. So I just want to thank you guys for you guys taking the initiative, furthering your career, and coming out and supporting the Alumni Association. Before you leave, we do have flyers. There's an alumni social event at the end of this month, and we have, for coming out tonight, I do have bags for all the alumni here. If you do not have one already, please feel free to grab one. There's two different styles. From everyone that was able to volunteer and attend tonight, I do have thank you gifts for you guys for coming tonight. So very thankful. Thank you for coming, and enjoy your night. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.